Now viewers, since it's Friday, we all get you a special segment that is KYC, Know Your Company, and the company that we are going to be discussing today, Rahul Ji, is again from the railway space, and that is RVNL. This is after the stellar rally that we have seen in the recent past. There were a lot of questions that were coming in on RVNL, and even today there are several people who are asking on RVNL that should we buy the stock right now or not. Let us first understand in great detail about the company, the fundamentals, the earnings, the opportunities that investors can really look at from the budget and also from the order inflow perspective as well. So, for a wider perspective of our audiences, RVNL, which is Rail Vikas Nigam Limited, this company was founded in 2003. It's a New Delhi based company. It operates in the rail infrastructure construction industry. It engages in rail project development and implementation. It also provides financial resources mobilization services as well, undertakes various railway projects including new lines, doubling of existing lines, gauge conversion, railway electrification, all comes under the company. Additionally, the company also works on projects like metro projects, bridges, construction of cable stayed bridges, institution buildings as well. It serves Indian Railways, various central and state government ministries and departments and public sector undertakings as well. Remember, the IPO of the company was launched in April of 2019 and it was a flat debut of 19 rupees. From then on, in the last 5 years, the stock has given a whopping return of 2,310%. Remember, in the last 1 month, we've actually seen the stock rally very sharply amidst this entire railway move. The stock has jumped nearly 60% in 1 month. In the last 1 year, we've actually seen 420% return coming in onto this stock, and even on a year-to-date basis, it's a strong 244% odd. Let's understand from Rahul sir as to how does he view the company and what do the fundamentals of RVNL really suggest? How is this story going to unfold over the next few years, sir?
So I think as we discussed earlier also, there's entire railway as a theme which if I look at for a longer term perspective, I think will continues to do well. So very few listed players are there in this space which will do that the size of the markets will continue to grow higher and higher. So I think Rail Vikas again PSU and if we have seen that PSU companies have done quite well, and we're looking at the order book and fundamentals, I personally also feel that stock can still come out. So again, to repeat on this, that I think the rally has been very fast in this stocks. The returns from here in this stocks can be, it might slow down. It may not be like a blasting which had happened in last 6 months to a year.
Okay. How about the valuations after the recent run-up, sir, on RVNL? For someone who's still, like you said, that this is a multi-year story and not like a short-term story. For someone who may have missed the best part of the rally thus far, 400% in just last 1 year's perspective, those who have stayed out may want to take an entry at these higher levels, but with a long-term view. How would you advise?
So that is what I'm trying to say, that the stocks have run up quite sharply in terms of where the valuation. But the story, if I talk about it in India, growth story in terms of next 3 to 5 years, so I think there are limited players into it. So if I look at that perspective, I think this will continue to do well. So maybe that's why I said that the returns will not be as fast as what or as last year as it had happened in last 1 year or so. The returns would be 15-20% compounded for them. So I think if you have that kind of a appetite, I think it should have an allocation and a portfolio.
Okay, understood that. Well, let's also welcome our other guest on the show now. Joining in is Mr. Avinash Gorakshakar. He is the Head of Research at Profitmart Securities. Warm welcome to you, Avinash ji, and thank you so much, Rahul ji, for being with us on this show to help us and all our viewers with all the queries that they've asked you, and of course the KYC segment. We'll continue discussing the KYC segment now with Avinash ji. Warm welcome to you. Like I said, sir, we're discussing RVNL, and that is our stock of the day, which we are discussing, or stock of the week that we pull out for our viewers to get a deeper understanding. Why we pulled out RVNL is because we were getting every day some of the other query which was on RVNL, of course looking at the sharp surge that we've seen on the stock. Your own sense of how should one view RVNL as a story after the recent run-up has already taken place?
Yeah, good afternoon, Sakshi. See, first of all, RVNL, there's no doubt that over the next, say, 2 to 3 years, the order book is very robust and a very strong revenue visibility can be expected by the company. And I think, railway stocks are the flavor of the market. So I think that has also been one of the key reasons, stocks like RVNL have done a remarkable kind of upside in the market. But overall, if you ask me, Sakshi, what is the kind of price upside expected, from these levels? I think it's a little difficult to now make money in this company, considering the fact that price upside has been significant in a very short period of time. So I think, it's now going to be a compounder rather than be a multi-bagger. And therefore, I think investors who have already bought in the stock should definitely hold on. And fresh buying can be considered only if there's some meaningful correction. Because see, finally, at the end of the day, retail investors get into such kind of stocks at the 52-week highs and they get trapped, later on. So I think one should not forget the fact that every share is attractive at a particular price point. So I think wait for some time. If you get a meaningful correction, you can definitely buy in, but not at the current odd levels. Investors who have already bought in can hold on.
Investors who've already bought can hold down. At the current levels, it would not be advisable to take an entry, wait for a meaningful correction before getting into that story. You talked about the order book, and let me just detail for all our viewers what kind of orders have been coming in for RVNL of late. RVNL won an order of 187 crores from Maharashtra Metro Rail Corporation of late. It signed an MOU with Tatweer Middle East and Africa LLC for rail-based work in the MENA region and also Europe. It also emerged as the lowest bidder for 202 odd crore rupees for South Eastern Railway project. Then it again secured an order of 138 odd crore rupees from Central Railways to upgrade the electric traction system in the Amla-Nagpur section as well. These are all the recent orders that are coming in. Let's also look at the earnings of the company. Remember, in Q4, the company reported a profit that was up 33% at 478 crores, revenue that was up 17.4%, EBITDA improved by 21.8%, and margin stood at 6.8% versus 6.6%. Avinash ji, on the earnings perspective and the orders perspective as well, do you see the momentum continuing, and do you see more upside that one can have on these two perspectives?
No, I think, see, the narrative is playing out very well. And I said, as far as the company can execute all these projects in time, because, for these companies, Sakshi, what is important is the execution part also. And, new orders, when they come in, the narrative becomes more stronger. But I think earnings have yet got to trickle down. So, markets are already discounting, the next 12 months earnings in advance. So, mere khayal se, this is the reason I am telling you that this company will do very well. Profitability will also improve. But the stock has actually moved up quite significantly. It's already factored in FY25 numbers also. So, to that extent, I would not be incentivized to buy the stock now. I think it would have been a good idea if you would have bought this sometime in January or February, where you would have got the opportunity to make a decent alpha. But at these levels, I think, probably as you rightly mentioned in the show earlier, that, some investors have missed the bus. So I think you need to take that into account. Wait for a meaningful correction. Otherwise, I think most investors would be disappointed. Buying at any level, any stock actually does not make money for the investors in the long run.
Absolutely. So we need to keep an eye out on what is the kind of run up that has already happened and what price the stock is really trading at as well. Now let's discuss with respect to the other railway stocks, how do you position RVNL, sir? And do you, vis-a-vis the other peers as well, where does it stand?
No, I think my guess is, see, the entire railway space, if you ask me, has been a very strong performer for the last 12 months. And I think now there are some large expectations building up in this year's budget. Of course, the railway budget, along with the general budget, will be presented on 23rd of July. And even I believe that, yes, the outlay could increase for the railway by about 40%. But I think at the end of the day, I think one has to also take into account that these are all now stocks which everyone in the market is aware. So whenever you buy stocks like Titagar wagons or maybe a Jupiter wagon or maybe typically something like an RVNL, these are all identified stocks, Sakshi. So I think, when investors get into these stocks, they should be prepared for moderate returns, maybe, compounder returns. You cannot expect now Titagar to double from these levels because I've seen levels of 150 and now it's more than 1,000 odd rupees. So the prospects are definitely good. All these companies are sitting on order book for the next 2 years, plus more orders could come in after this year's budget. But I think one can expect moderate compounder returns of 15, say 20%. But beyond that, I think, if one were to look at multi-bagger returns, which all these stocks have shown in the last, 12 to 18 months, that phase is now completely over. Now you've got to be ready for compounding returns, which would be in the range of 15 to 20%. So, taking this into account, I think the sector looks pretty healthy, very attractive. but investors should now take a realistic view about their return expectations.
Okay, understood that. So that, viewers, was our KYC segment. You heard about RVNL, all the prospects that we could tell you from what the company does, what are the order book size, how is the earnings going to pan out, but what are the valuations and the aspect that you should be looking at the current levels as well.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.